Musashi and Kojiro, they both exist on the fringe of society. Those two are like opposing wings on a bird, or perhaps, if you considered them as raw uncovered blades, then they would serve as each other's sheaths. Perhaps that's what they are to each other. At first glance, it seems that the opposite is true. Two men that live by the sword, that live for battle. How could the two of them together create anything but violence and bloodshed? The answer lies both in the ways they're the same and the ways in which they're opposed. They're both men that were born into the way of the sword, a pursuit that felt so natural it was as though they had no other choice. Both of their fathers resented their use of the sword, but for opposing reasons. Musashi's father resented his son's use of the sword out of fear that one day his son would overtake him, the invincible, a self-centered fear. Musashi cared for nothing but the pursuit of invincibility, and he unwittingly passed that pursuit on to his son, yet was afraid of his son following the very path that he himself had laid out for him. Kojiro's father also resented his son's use of the sword out of fear that one day the sword would be the cause of his beloved son's death, a selfless fear. Jisai cared for nothing but the well-being of his son, but in his attempts to drive Kojiro away from the sword, he unwittingly inspired his son to become even closer with the blade, a path that he himself had laid out by training his precious child day after day. One of, if not the, biggest factor that led to the differences between Musashi and Kojiro was Kojiro's deafness. In the beginning, they were both drawn in by the beauty of their blades, by the rush of being one with their swords and the world around them, to swing their blades in whatever way felt most authentic to their bodies. This was where they both came from. Yet, Musashi was driven away from this authentic beauty by the words of those around him. His father shared with him his fearful, self-centered philosophies glorifying invincibility. The villagers shared their ignorance of the young boy, calling him a demon for his behavior spurred on by his father's teachings. And Musashi took up the mantle he was given. If others saw him as a demon, he'd play the part, and everyone that found themselves in battle with him found themselves overwhelmed with fear and hatred. Kojiro, on the other hand, was separated from the words of those around him, and was able to stay connected to the authentic beauty he'd found in his blade. He didn't hear his father's fearful philosophies on how the sword would drive its wielder mad. He didn't hear the words of the village children that insulted him and his father. He stayed true to himself within his own world and lived only with curiosity and excitement. Everyone that found themselves in battle with him found themselves overwhelmed with joy and gratitude. As time went on, both swordsmen found themselves lacking something the other possessed in spades. Musashi lacked a sense of authenticity. His curiosity and excitement for the sword lost to time, and Kojiro lacked a sense of fear, engaging in every battle innocently. Musashi was spurred on by his fear, and Kojiro was spurred on by his curiosity and excitement. The more Musashi killed, the deeper he descended into the spiral of killing, the more he questioned why he even fought in the first place, why he craved being invincible under the sun. His fear had wound itself tightly around his neck, and even after achieving victory after victory, the noose he'd tied himself only seemed to get tighter and tighter. The more Kojiro killed, the higher he ascended on his journey of beauty and curiosity, the more freedom he found. After discovering fear, he learned how to move past it through his love of the sword. He only became freer and freer, the further along in his journey he went. Musashi's fear led to the death of countless warriors, and Kojiro's excitement did the same. When the two men met each other for the second time at Koetsu's residence, their similarities and differences synthesized. Kojiro reminded Musashi of the unity he'd once possessed with his sword, making it clear that his path of bloodshed had distanced him from that authenticity. And as Kojiro's excitement pushed him to unsheath his sword, Musashi's hesitance and fear pushed him to keep his sword undrawn. This was the way in which the two of them acted as sheaths for each other. For Musashi to stop cutting down others in his pursuit of invincibility, he had to first embrace the beauty of the sword, of life, and cut off the roots of his violent pursuit. Roots planted by the fear his father had instilled in him, something that he began to find in a small village that he helped survive through a famine. For Kojiro to stop cutting others down in his pursuit of passion, he had to embrace the hesitance and fear to draw his blade, to look for other options to avoid or end a fight outside of killing, something that he began to discover after his experience being hunted down by throngs of angry samurai hunters. Both swordsmen made great strides in their journeys to becoming their own sheaths, yet, together, they may be able to do not only that, but simultaneously wield their swords with excitement, authenticity, and restraint. This has been Evan. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much to Ragu Sid, my patron. Once I have 2 more patrons, I will be opening up a private Discord server where we can talk about all sorts of things, my future videos, your favorite shows, your favorite manga, whatever, anything really. So I'd be honored to see you there. It would be a great way to help support me so that I can make more and higher quality content for y'all. I'd love to make other kinds of videos, but right now I really don't have the time or energy to do more than what I'm doing. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.